Pensions and Protestants. Ooh, this is a fun one. We talked about this live last night on the Locals live stream with 20 to 25 people on there. It's fun, man. A deep group of thinkers, lots of chatting on there. Just a great time on Locals. I very much appreciate it. Of course, I'm the beneficiary of it because I get to do all the talking. Everybody else just has to chat, but it's fun. I enjoy it, and it costs $5 a month. So if you want to join my Locals and be on the live streams and chat with us cool kids, it's every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's fun. You should join. So we talked about this last night, and I want to share this with you here on YouTube. So always first dibs on Locals. You want to be first, don't you? You don't want to be last. So let's go over this. My man Moshe, Moshe, I think is how you pronounce it. Someone told me that last night on Locals. The nice thing about Locals, Constantinople. I learned how to pronounce Moshe and Constantinople. I did not know how to pronounce either of those words until we're on Locals. So 2 weeks ago on Locals, I figured out how to pronounce Constantinople. There was a song by, they must be Dragons or something like that, Constantinople. I said, oh, Constantinople. I've never been able to pronounce that, but now I can, Constantinople. Maybe the people on Locals can share with me how to roll my R's. I've always wanted to roll my R's. When I do it, I sound like a pirate. Yeah, boy, I'm literally not a pirate. Can you all roll your R's? If you can roll your R's, put it in the show notes. And if you have a hint on how I can do that, I've always wanted to roll my R's. I watch my man Mark Dice. Every time it says Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and he's like always rolling. I said, I wish I could do that. It's fantastic. I'm a white kid from Maine. Mark Dice is, I think he's from California, so maybe that's why he can roll his R's from California. All right. Moshe Belevsky. Now again, I've been reading him for a long time. The guy freaking crushes. Dateline, September 20, 2023. This is still in its not rough draft, but not quite finalized version yet. Anyway, this work is related to the very old and infamous hypothesis by Max Weber on the Protestant work ethic, but more broadly is consistent and within the sphere of recent scholarship and literature that indicates religion matters for financial economic outcomes. So a number of you guys emailed me about my man Joe Kuhn's video where he named me as one of his favorite YouTube channels, and I love Joe Kuhn. He's a good guy. I interviewed him 6 months or something like that. Joe Kuhn is crushing. And I checked out some of the comments, and some people were bashing me. Josh is doing stuff religious crap. Dude, I don't care. I don't care. Josh is conspiracy theorist. I just don't care. The one thing I chuckled, some guy says, I like Josh until he started questioning the science, as if questioning the science is inherently a bad thing. Dude, religion is near and dear to my heart, all right? Not religion per se. It's the love of God and his risen son, Jesus. That's all that matters to me, is my relationship with the Lord. If that's offensive to you, I'm not changing. I'm not. I have a deep love of the Lord. If loving the Lord is wrong, I don't want to be right. That's all there is to it. I don't care if I have one person that's watching my videos, me. If I have to sacrifice to appease a wider audience, my love and my great commission of sharing the word of the Lord Jesus and his Father, the Lord of the Creator of all mankind, of all the universe, I will go down in flames because that's it. That's what matters more than anything to me, more than anything. So anyone who comes at me and says, "Dude, that's good," I find it silly that you can't freaking, he's religious. I can't. I mean, look, I get it. Some people didn't want to hear a Jewish guy talking. Some people don't want to hear a Muslim guy talking. I get it. I'm not changing. Just FYI. There's no way would I sacrifice that. Loving the Lord is wrong. I don't want to be right. But evolution. The Big Bang. So anyway, recent scholarship indicates religion matters for financial economic outcomes. Now we're going to skip on down to that's the abstract. We're going to skip on down to the conclusion here, then we'll come back around because this is a great article. I very much enjoyed this PDF. All right. The Protestant German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck is credited with inaugurating the world's first national pension scheme in 1889. After he struggled unsuccessfully against German Catholics in the Culture Kampf of the 1870s. His design for social insurance was soon copied by other countries, first Protestant and then Catholic. Continuing with the Protestant theme, one of the first funded pension annuity schemes was developed in Edinburgh by Presbyterian ministers Alexander Webster and Robert Wallace in 1774 during the period known as the Scottish Enlightenment. Up to that point, annuity and income benefits for surviving widows and orphans were on a pay-as-you-go. That's what our Social Security is, a pay-as-you-go. The Reverend Webster and Wallace were the first to propose managing a pension and annuity using sound actuarial principles. And they put the administration in motion through the Scottish and very Protestant church. That fund was offered to all members of the Presbyterian Church of Scotland and professors from the leading Scottish universities. That same funding template across the Atlantic was adopted by Presbyterians in Philadelphia in 1761, where it was instrumental in launching the first American life insurance company. Andrew Carnegie, you remember him, a Scottish Presbyterian, was a philanthropic godfather of TIA Craft, launched in 1918, was the first annuity fund for teachers in the U.S., well before Social Security was even introduced in the 1930s. Now, Andrew Carnegie, there was a big kind of falling out on TIA back in the old days. It's very interesting, and I don't have my book on that here, but if you read the history of that, again, that would be the book I just got done reading, A History of Retirement by Graebner, Graebner. I think it's William Graebner. Great book, dude. You should read that book. It's fantastic. I love it. Could not recommend that more. Very interesting, though, about the Carnegie with the TIA stuff, and then how that kind of, there's some controversy there. Again, this is all anecdotal, but perhaps Protestant Christian organizations have had a head start or a first mover's advantage in setting up pension, annuity, and retirement systems. Very interesting. So let's keep going here. Right here, blink. Within the financial economics literature, there's a growing awareness and appreciation that religious beliefs distinct from culture or country affect tangible financial outcomes. For example, these guys found a link between individual religiosity and financial risk aversion, and that this influences organizational behavior. Kumar identified distinctions within religious dogmas between Protestants and Catholics as it pertained to their attitudes towards gambling. They found Catholics were more likely to hold lottery-type stocks than Protestants. It's therefore not unreasonable to conjecture that religious beliefs and attitudes might appear in other financial domains. And here we focus on retirement planning and pension provision. That field, too, has recently attracted the attention of financial economists, but the intersection of retirement, pensions, religion, and Protestants goes back much further. Over a century ago, Max Weber wrote The Protestant Ethic in the Spirit of Capitalism and noted that in Germany, business leaders and the owners of capital tend to be predominantly Protestant. Interesting. They tended to be predominantly Protestant. Why would that be? With the spirit of capitalism literature, Weber was followed by R.H. Tawney's Religion and the Rise of Capitalism. He argued that the Protestant Reformation's emphasis on individualism and the direct relationship between the individual and God paralleled the emergence of individualist competitive economic behavior. I think that is classic. I think that's so huge. The Protestant focus on individual responsibility, a one-on-one relationship directly with God, as opposed to going through a proxy, your priest, your cardinal, the Pope. As such, that paralleled the emergence of individualistic competitive economic behavior. And I'm telling you, look, I'm Catholic. I'm Catholic. That's all there is to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Protestant. I've been to Protestant churches, Presbyterian, Methodist, 100%. North Point is a non-denominational. I've been there. North Point Community Church. I've read Piper. I read the Westminster thing. I forgot what it was. The Westminster. There's a book at Westminster. I forgot what it's called. But I know that the Dallas Theological Seminary, very conservative Protestant stuff. You know what I'm saying? What's my man's name? Vernon. I got this. G. Vernon. I forgot his name. But anyway. So I'm very adept on reading Protestant literature, probably more Catholic literature, frankly, because in the Catholicism of my growing up, which is very minimal, mind you. I mean, my parents were not Catholics in the least. We went to church on Easter, that was it. But I didn't even get not confirmed my first communion until I was 12. But anyway, so I'm very a Catholic by default, but certainly probably more educated in the Protestant area. That's just a fact. However, I know that Protestants who I talk to, and then we got Mormons too, are very much more inclined to tithing than many Catholics that I've been, that I've come to know. I just know that for a fact. I know, I mean, I can see it in my day-to-day planning. Many Catholics don't tithe. Many Protestants do. It's just a fact. Mormons all do. It's crazy. Good freaking Mormons are crushing, 100%. And I see that, I see that, and I don't know where that comes from. Again, the Great Commission, the tithing for this pretty explicit in the Bible about tithing and whatnot. I don't know, but there's certainly a distinction between Protestant giving and Catholic giving. And we see the biggest states on charitable giving are mostly Protestant, the ones in the South, as opposed to the ones in the Northeast, even though the ones in the South are poorer. Very interesting. It's not to bash Catholics. Plenty of Catholics freaking crush them. But what I'm saying is, if you took the average Catholic and the average Protestant, I guarantee the average Protestant is tithing more. I guarantee, for sure. And it's just interesting. All right, let's keep going. Generally speaking, economists of religion tend to dismiss the concept of a Protestant work ethic that Max Weber did not actually offer a testable hypothesis. Testable hypothesis? We still need that? Not when it comes to a certain you-know-what. That he was blatantly wrong, as evidenced by Venetian capitalism observed in the 8th century, centuries before the Reformation. So I like that. Venetian, Italy, capitalism was observed in the 8th century. So it's not just Catholics don't do capitalism and Protestants do. It's not that. There's more to it. What about retirement, though? This paper does not attempt to suggest there is a Protestant retirement ethic. Instead, it's motivated by the idea that Protestantism matters. This article documents a positive and statistically significant relationship between the overall quality of a region's pension system and the fraction of that region's population as identifying as Protestant Christian. In both the national and the U.S. state level, the quality variable is linked to the fraction of the population that identify as Protestant. Regardless of region, our results on both state and national level are robust to various specifications. They're also confirmed by instrumental variable procedure at the national level, and exogenous shock at the state level. I don't know what exogenous means. All right, so these two guys document that Protestant Christians exhibited a greater sense of financial responsibility in their economic attitudes. I completely concur with that. So it is not a stretch to argue that such attitudes would apply to pensions and retirement planning. The common theme here, as well in the above cited Kumar et al., is that religion is of interest to researchers in finance and economics, and for the most part, Protestant countries, regions, and individuals are more likely to exhibit a greater sense of financial responsibility, a tendency to contribute to society, and an aversion to gambling. Protestant people are going to have more aversion to gambling. Indeed, properly provisioning for and pre-funding retirement involves all three of those elements. They use a stupid Oxford comma. There shouldn't be a comma there, Moshe. We don't have a comma before the word and. The Oxford comma. Ban that. Ban the Oxford comma. The Protestant Reformation, which began with the Reverend Martin Luther in the year 1517, obviously took place over 5 centuries ago. The impact of that event is not only studied by scholars to this day, it still reverberates in Protestant practices, if not beliefs. Cole notes that Calvinist and Reformed Protestant countries developed significantly higher life and property insurance penetration during the period and more so than Catholic countries. The point here is, again, that there are noticeable differences in finance, economic, and insurance behavior for regions that identify Protestant, Christian versus Catholic. To our knowledge, we are the first to examine how Protestantism could affect the overall quality of a pension system within a region. The question is how to measure quality, and we offer 2 approaches, one based on countries and one for the United States. And they're going to use this Mercer CFA index is kind of like the essentially has come to be the gold standard of identifying pensions, sustainability, and whatnot. Check this out. In his presidential address to the American Financial Association, Sharfstein in 2018 offered evidence to support the claim that policies that promote pension savings also promote the development of capital markets. He motivated his remarks with examples of 2 distinct countries, Italy versus Denmark. Now, the Venetian capitalism, and now we're talking Italy later on, is very interesting. So the policies that promote pension savings promote the capital markets. Italy's private pension assets as a percentage of GDP are less than 10%, while Denmark's is closer to 180%. Isn't that interesting? Italy's private pension assets are a percentage of GDP are less than 10. So I want to show you guys something. Here's Italy's GDP, $2 trillion, all right? And they got 59 million people. Let's find Denmark. So let's keep going down. Keep going down. Denmark is tiny, 6 million people with only a 400 billion GDP. A very small country. So it's kind of a stretch to compare these two, but Denmark is heavily Protestant. Italy is heavily Catholic. I think that's a stretch, frankly, but still, you can see right there. That's their GDP. That's the number of people. So let's keep reading here. Anyway, so we're going to compare the two. All right. Denmark is 85% Protestant Christian, while Italy is less than 2% Protestant. This is anecdotal, but it suggests once again there might be a religious angle worth investigating. I actually think there's something different. I'll tell you in a second here. The fractions of a country. This is interesting. Oh wait, I'm going to go down here. Where was it? Here, keep going. Yes, he didn't put the graphs in here, which is too bad. My man Tom was reading this. Tom's got 7 kids and 18 grandkids. One possible explanation for the effect that is documented in this study is the emphasis placed upon the value of work and occupational success by Protestants. Such a notion would result in higher incomes and overall prosperity for Protestant households, which in turn would engender higher savings rates. Let me share with you my theory real quick. I got done reading Thomas Sowell's book, Black Rednecks and White Liberals, and very interesting. So a lot of the Scots-Irish that came and settled Appalachia and were essentially rednecks in the South, these weren't Catholics. They're Protestants for sure, 100%. And they did horrible work relative to the Germans, the Germanic cultures that came in here as well. The Germans, and a lot of Germans Catholics, but a lot, the Anabaptist Germans, whatnot, the Mennonites, Amish, and whatnot, Lutherans. But it's very interesting. So the Germans, because we talked about the German Catholics before, I actually think it's more than just a religion. I think it's a culture, because we have a heavily Protestant Scots-Irish down here, and they fit in very well with the blacks. In fact, there's a lot of overlaps. And don't forget the word axe. I'm going to ask you a question. That's not blacks. That's from the freaking Scots-Irish, the Highland Scots that came here, the people from Wales, and then again the people from Ireland that came in the South in Appalachia. And a lot of blacks took that language from the whites. It's very interesting. Did not originate in black language. It just didn't. It originated in whites from those people that came over here from those places I just shared with you. They're notorious for not working that hard. Notorious. If you just read Thomas Sowell's book, and he talks about Olmsted, Francis Olmsted, all these other people that come down here like, man, I got to get work done. These people aren't doing anything. They'll do a little bit of work, and then they're very good orators, whatever that word is, speaking. They're very emotional. They're very good dancers. They like to party. They like to get jiggy with the ladies. You know what I'm saying? They like to party, and they'll work and then they'll party. And whereas the Germans would work until the work was done. One guy, I think it was Thomas Jefferson, actually said to travel from, basically Charlottesville to where he was going, Richmond or something, I can't remember. He said the Germans would have a bridge, and the Scots, essentially the white rednecks essentially would have fords, and fords would just put rocks where you can walk over them. But there would be a bridge that the Germans would put in so you can actually take a horse and buggy, and that led to a lot more efficient moving of products and people, where the ford did not. It's just very, very interesting. And so those, we have a dilemma. And then we got the WASPs, all right? So we got the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, those, kind of uppity people in the Boston, the elite, like the Kennedys and whatnot, looking down on everybody. So that's a Protestant, what I'm saying? Then we have the Catholics up. We have Northeast, there's a lot of Catholics as well. But I think it's actually culture more than religion necessarily. I think the people of warmer climes, Italy being one, Spain being another, they don't have the same level of preservation, the work ethic, because they don't need to. what I mean by that, if you're in Germany or if you're in freaking Denmark, you're in a Scandinavian country, dude, it gets cold. You can't squander things. You have to be a prepper by nature. You know what I'm saying? You can't waste time frolicking through the park. You got to freaking be building. Because when the wintertime comes, ain't nothing going on. You know what I'm saying? And I think that gets overlooked at the culture in terms of the climate. I really, truly believe that. The climate of a more warm-bodied people are going to be less organized around work and more organized around having fun. There's nothing good nor bad about that. I think is what it is. Whereas a cold climate people are going to be more worried about prepping because when the wintertime comes, you're not going to be able to get anything done. That's my conviction there. But anyway, let's keep reading because I think it's interesting. All right, let's keep going here because this was see he didn't put any tables in there. Right here, I want to show you because this was what was the other thing right here. Therefore, check this out. An increase in 1 standard deviation in the fraction of the state's population that identifies as Protestant implies an increase of 2.63% in a public pension's actuarial funding ratio. The average actuarial reported funded ratio for public pensions is about 78%. The effect size reported herein would take the average public pension slightly above the 80% benchmark that is considered a baseline for sustainability. So if you increase the 1 standard deviation, the number of people who are identified as Protestant, essentially you're going to make the pension more sustainable relative to before. The average is 78.3. We want 80% to be sustainable. Isn't that interesting? I thought so. Anyway, I think that's all I got here. Yeah. Pretty interesting stuff. Love to hear your thoughts on this. I love this stuff, man. I mean, it's not for the lighthearted. I get you. It's not, what stock's going? I just don't care about that crap, dude. I don't care. I'm telling you, man. So this book, I just started finally reading my book, The Paradox of Debt, and this really has me thinking, man. And I read that along with this. I'll do a video on this probably tomorrow. Changing the Family Finance. This is very, very nice. There's a lot going on here. Just a lot. There's a lot. I got a lot to think about in that regard. That stuff I'll bring to you. That like these don't get huge. Somebody said the Joe Kuhn video. Some guy commented, "Scanlon just does this to get more views." I said, "I do crazy stuff to get more views." No. Anyway, love your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe down below. My email list, and we'll see you later. God bless.